This is possibly the best car that we've ever owned that we didn't really like. Let's find out why. The X3 is one of our top-rated small luxury SUVs. But after spending a year with this X3, which is almost the exact same spec as the previous generation one that we had as part of our one-year road test fleet as well, our staff had a surprising amount of not so nice words for it. You know the drill by now with these wrap-ups. We're gonna go over the good, the bad, what broke, plus what it's worth after 12 months and 15,000 miles. We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us. We knew that we wanted to test out BMW's totally redesigned bread and butter SUV, and we wanted to use a mainstream version to do it. So no M Sport or M50i here. This is an xDrive 30i that set us back just over $56,000 with a couple of options added on. But of course, what you'll pay for any new car depends on dealers in your area. So that's why at Edmunds, we've got the tools that tell you what you should pay for any new car. You'll find links in the description or just scan the QR code. The X3 is a part of our one-year road test fleet of 20 or so vehicles that we keep for a year so we can tell you exactly what they're like to live with long term. Now, in its time with us, this BMW has been through the hands of basically everyone on our staff, and to kick things off on a positive note, we're going to tell you what we liked about it, starting with just how practical it was.
BMW made a lot of changes with the new X3, but they kept one of my favorite features, which is the oversized water bottle pockets in both the driver and passenger side door. Yes, even big enough for the trendy water bottle that you have on your desk right now.
For a small luxury SUV, the X3's cargo area is pretty roomy to me. I've used it for a variety of things, going to the grocery store, but also hauling larger items. The rear seats, they fold down almost flat and they're really easy to fold down. And even the cargo area cover is easy to remove as well. So overall, I'm really impressed.
For luxury vehicles, the standards for technology are higher. But even with that caveat, this BMW delivered in several ways.
The screens in the X3 are terrific. They're big, but not overwhelmingly so. You also have plenty of real estate on the screens for your map and any other apps you're using, your music, etc. The interface is also super clean as well. The graphics look really good, and there's literally no lag.
A couple of other members of our staff also called out this crisp and very responsive touchscreen, which we like, and I want to call out this instrument cluster because it has one of our favorite features. You can actually mirror the turn-by-turn directions from the native nav, Apple CarPlay, or Android Auto right here in the instrument cluster, and that frees up the screen to then be used for other things. And now we come to driving. Now, we did not opt for the 6-cylinder X3 M50i, but to be honest, we don't really regret it at all because we were really satisfied with this base engine. Here's what our test team, the best one in the business, had to say about it.
Now, the 4-cylinder in the X3 is nothing like the 4 cylinders of old. Now, it's only 2 liters, and whether turbocharged or not, it's a little smaller than what you typically find in an SUV. That said, it has plenty of power. It never left me wanting for the inline 6, whether you're merging on the highway or making passes when you're already there. It has plenty of oomph. And on top of that, it's smooth and fuel efficient, making it one of the top picks in its class.
A few of our staff members, self included, also called out the X3's range because this thing really seems to chew through the highway miles. On some fills, it got above 27 mpg all the way up into the mid-30s. And for me, I actually took this vehicle on a road trip from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, which is just under 300 miles. And when I got into it, it had a little bit over half a tank. So I assumed that I was going to need to fill up on the way there. But instead, I saw the lights of the strip in the distance and realized I hadn't stopped at all. Being able to get over 500 miles out of a single tank feels pretty great. Now, the BMW's great driving experience isn't just because of how it feels from behind the wheel.
I was really impressed with the driver assist in the X3. Ours had the $3,400 premium package, which included Driving Assistant Plus, basically their version of adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist. It was very confident, pretty responsive and human-like. It could even follow gentle curves, but my favorite thing was that it never did this really annoying thing that all these cars do that tell you to put your hands on the wheel and use the steering when your hands are already on the wheel. I don't want that. BMW doesn't do it. Thank you.
So lots to like about this vehicle, but as I mentioned at the top, we really found plenty of things to complain about over the past year. Now, if you're looking for a more balanced, full take on this vehicle, our rating and review are both available on our site. Check out the link in the description. But this is the time where we get to talk trash, and that is my love language.
I was really surprised by the interior. It was so hard and plasticky, not what I was expecting from BMW at all. I mean, you've got the logo on the center of the steering wheel, but the rest of the interior is very BMW light.
Today's luxury vehicles are distinguished not so much by what they have than how they feel, and for me that's where the X3 lets itself down. It's not terrible, the seats are comfortable, the screen has a nice resolution, but some of the interior plastics and the other materials feel a bit mainstream, even a bit cheap. My family had a Genesis GV60 in this time period, which is about the same price point, and the overall perception of quality was that much greater. When you're buying a BMW, when you're paying that premium, you want it to feel great.
Some of the interior pieces in our X3 don't feel like they really belong in a luxury SUV to me. The biggest example I can think of is the plastic piece that's next to the door release handles and the side mirrors. It just feels cheap and kind of plasticky. And there are a few other examples as well, such as the door pockets. They're not lined, so things can rattle around and even have some sharp edges on them. Just overall, it's not really what I would kind of expect from BMW.
All that being said, one member of our staff did point out a potential advantage of these materials.
You know, for as many complaints as we've had about the X3's hard plastics and subpar interior materials, I've got to say, not many cars in our one-year road test fleet have held up as well over 15,000 miles. There isn't a single squeak or rattle anywhere in our X3, and I don't think I can say that about another car in our fleet.
But no matter what the trim pieces and buttons are made of, even great materials can't hide controls that just don't work very well.
BMWs really rely on their charm to cover up all of their problems. And since the X3 is completely charmless, all that's left are the problems. That little control pod next to the door by the side view mirror embodies all of the problems that this car has. It's this weird combination of haptic and touch controls. You can't find anything by touch. The plastic it's made of feels cheap. It's overly complicated and unpleasant to use. It just sums up everything that is wrong with this car for me.
After I took my long road trip with the X3, I wrote the following. The controls throughout the vehicle feel obtuse. The infotainment system is powerful and customizable, but it can be super overwhelming to find what you're looking for, and some commonly used features are buried deep in the menus. Now, let me show you exactly what I mean. Let's say you're using the adaptive cruise control and you want to change your following distance to the car in front of you because sometimes you're in flowing traffic and sometimes you're in stop and go. To do so in most vehicles, that's just a simple button on the steering wheel. Not so in the X3. To do that here, you've got to go into the main menu here, you've got to go to vehicle, you've got to go to driving settings, you've got to go to driver assistance, you've got to go to driving, and then you get to distance control, and then you can adjust it. That is 6 screen presses to get to a feature that you can just reach out and touch in pretty much every other car. And those weren't the only complaints that we had about the controls. Other members of our staff had trouble finding functions like adjusting the bass and the treble, turning off the auto stop start, and even turning on the map lights. All of that runs through the screen. Even the air vents in this vehicle are needlessly complicated. If you want to cut off the air, it's this touch-sensitive control here that you have to slide. And if you're going to adjust the vent direction, you don't actually adjust the vents. You use these little rubber nubs below them, which is fine except for the fact that you can't really see where the air is pointing at all. The words that come to mind when it comes to describing the controls for this vehicle, needlessly complicated. Even though we like how it drives, we didn't like everything about the driving experience either.
I really like the efficiency and the softness of the drive in the X3, but there were a couple things about the experience that really didn't sit well with me. I have an older 3 Series, so I was expecting to have a little bit more of an engaging drive, but was kind of left feeling a little flat. The steering wheel itself is a little awkward, especially as you're going through turns. It makes it really awkward and just not as smooth when you're trying to make a left or a right. I also decided to go through some of the different drive modes to see if that changed a little bit of my engagement in the drive, and just no luck there. I also don't like how mushy and vague the brakes are. You just can't quite tell where it's going to catch and stop you. So because of all that, I just didn't find it as fun as my older 3 Series.
One staff member also used the park assist feature to semi-autonomously back into a parking space in his garage, and it put him so close to the adjacent vehicle that he could barely squeeze out. And on that road trip that I keep mentioning, I actually took it with my wife, and at highway speeds, the X3 can be pretty noisy inside, surprising for a luxury vehicle, and also surprising because that's something that she rarely mentions. Thankfully, when it came to repairs and maintenance, it was super easy with the X3. Nothing broke, and it only visited the dealership one time for a solitary service visit.
I happened to be driving our X3 when it needed its first service. This was an oil change and a multi-point inspection. Scheduled an appointment at my local dealer, no problems there. They took care of it, and it was also covered under BMW's free maintenance plan. They even washed it for me, so overall, a great experience.
Now, just about a year ago, we paid a little bit over $56,000 for this X3. So what is it worth today? We just got an offer for it for right around $38,000, and that's about 30% depreciation in the last 12 months, which for a luxury vehicle is actually not that bad, but it is a little bit worse than that previous X3 that we owned. Now, if you're curious about what your current set of wheels is worth, thankfully at Edmunds, we've got a tool for that. Just head over to edmunds.com/sellmycar to get an instant cash offer. Now, depreciation isn't the only thing that you need to think about though when it comes to value. And for this X3 in particular, one question has really hung over it the entire time it's been with us, and that is it actually worth the money in the first place? And it's hard to answer because the comments, they vacillated so much between positive and negative in its time with us. And for one staff member, they said that they can't envision spending this much money on this vehicle when there's something like the Hyundai Tucson hybrid around.
I know the X3 ranks really highly in our Edmunds rankings, but after I drove it, I was pretty underwhelmed. At 56 grand, you expect a vehicle that feels kind of special, but with the X3, you're paying a premium mostly, I think, for the badge. Once you start looking at what you actually get for the money versus what you can get elsewhere in the market, the math just really stops making sense to me. The X3 styling is just flat out boring. With a luxury SUV, when I sit in it, I want to be impressed. I want to look forward to being in the cabin for my longish commute to Edmunds HQ. And the X3 it just feels kind of cheap, especially when there are cars like the Hyundai Tucson hybrid on the market, which are around $16,000 cheaper. The Hyundai isn't a luxury vehicle, but it's not claiming to be. It does what it does, and it does it really well. BMW is a luxury brand, and I feel like they forgot that with this car, and they're charging a luxury price for a really basic experience.
Remind me to never ask Tony if he thinks that I am worth the money. Now, if you've been enjoying our videos, the best way to help us make more of them is a like and subscribe. And if you have any questions about this X3 or any of the other vehicles in our 1-year road test fleet, let us know in the comments below. We do read them all. The X3 has an Edmunds rating of 7.5 out of 10, which translates to a very good score because it has strong technology offerings, it drives well, and it also offers more cargo space than rivals like the Mercedes-Benz GLC and the Genesis GV70 behind its back seat. However, it finishes second in our small luxury SUV rankings behind that same Genesis GV70 because its interior simply doesn't live up to the badge or the price tag. When you climb into it, at no point do you feel like this is a luxury grade interior, while that GV70, it is posh in all the right ways. In our time with the X3, every time we found something to like about it, we found something about it that would bug us, and I'm pretty sure that we found every single one of those things, and that ultimately left us feeling quite unsatisfied. Thanks for watching.